All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today we're exploring the fascinating origins, the core tenets, and the early expansion of Islam. It's a journey that literally reshaped the global map and the course of world history. Honestly, whether you're a history buff or just someone curious about how our modern world came to be, the sheer speed and scale at which this civilization grew it's absolutely incredible to trace.
To really wrap our heads around this global movement, we're going to hit 5 key stops today. Muhammad's early life, the famous Hijrat to Medina, the core 5 pillars of Islam, the explosive expansion under the 4 caliphs, and finally, the cultural hub of the Abbasid dynasty.
So, Part 1. Muhammad's early life and his origins in Mecca.
Picture the Arabian Peninsula, specifically the bustling trading town of Mecca. This is where our timeline kicks off, with Prophet Muhammad's birth in 570 CE. For a good chunk of his early life, he actually worked as a prosperous trader. But the major turning point hits right here, in 610 CE. At age 40, he experiences this profound spiritual vision, and that event ultimately sets the stage for a massive migration in 622 CE. Right after that vision in 610 CE, he declared himself the messenger of Allah. And his core message? Well, it was simple, but for that time and place, it was completely revolutionary. There is only one God, and Muhammad is his prophet. He pushed back really hard against the local Arabian practice of idol worship. You got to remember, Arabia back then was home to dozens of tribes who worshipped all sorts of different gods and had their own specific rites and sacrifices. Moving right along to Part 2, the Hijra to Medina, which is a massive turning point in this story.
Now, as you might guess, telling powerful local tribes that their traditional idol worship was completely wrong, yeah, that definitely upset the status quo. The pushback and hostility from rich, influential Arabs got so intense that Muhammad and his small band of followers literally had to pack up and leave Mecca. They headed to the town of Medina. This departure is famous. It's called the Hijrat, and it practically marks the birth of the early Muslim community.
Because of all that, the year 622 CE is absolutely crucial. It's not just some random date on a timeline. The Hijra was such a monumental shift for the community that 622 CE officially became year number 1 of the Muslim calendar, which we call the Hijri calendar. And you can see exactly how historical curriculums reinforce this foundational anchor today. The year 622 AD links perfectly to the first year of the Muslim calendar, while Mecca is clearly anchored as the birthplace of the Prophet. Getting these geographical and timeline anchors down is just vital for understanding the rest of Islamic history.
Okay, Part 3, the 5 pillars of Islam. Let's look at the rules that held this community together. So what exactly are the 5 pillars? Well, they're the strict duties that every capable follower has to observe. First up is Shahada, the core confession of faith, stating there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet. Second is Salat, the requirement to pray 5 times a day. Third is Zakat, which is all about giving alms or charity to those in need. Fourth is Psalm, fasting from dawn to dusk during the holy month of Ramzan. And fifth is the Hajj, a pilgrimage to Mecca that you're supposed to make at least once in your life. Together, these 5 pillars built a society that was incredibly disciplined, unified, and really focused on charity.
All right, on to Part 4, the 4 caliphs in an era of seriously rapid expansion. So, what happens next? After Prophet Muhammad passed away, this localized, unified community needed a new direction. Leadership transitioned to the caliphs. The word literally translates to successor. Now, a caliph wasn't just a typical king, they were the ultimate religious and political head of the entire community, all rolled into one. And let me tell you, these early leaders had an incredible missionary zeal. They mobilized the Arab tribes into a highly effective, almost unstoppable force.
Under the first 4 caliphs, Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, and Ali, the expansion was, well, it was breathtaking. We're talking about Arab armies sweeping across entire continents. In the span of just 1 century, they conquered massive territories stretching all the way from Spain and North Africa across to Iran and Central Asia. They basically swept away the much older Byzantine and Sasanian political identities, replacing them with this massive, brand-new Islamic empire.
Which brings us to Part 5, the Abbasid dynasty, a true center of global culture.
As this massive empire stabilized and its borders reached their peak, things started to change. We transitioned from an era of rapid military conquest to one focused heavily on administration and gathering knowledge. It's an absolutely vital contrast. The earlier Umayyad dynasty was all about expanding borders out from their capital in Damascus. But the Abbasids, who took over later, moved the capital to Baghdad. Their era lasted over 150 years and saw the Arab Empire turn inward, becoming one of the wealthiest and most enlightened regions on the entire planet.
Just look at how the Abbasid legacy is taught today. They are explicitly remembered as the repository of the cultural heritage of the ancient world. That is huge. Rather than destroying the cultures they conquered, they actively absorbed them. They assimilated ideas from all over the globe and made them their own.
To pull this off, the Abbasids built the magnificent House of Wisdom in Baghdad. Think of it as a massive ancient think tank and translation center. Scholars gather ancient texts from Greek, Byzantine, Egyptian, Chinese, Indian, and Persian lands. They brought it all together, translated into Arabic, and effectively preserved centuries of human knowledge in one incredible, accessible collection.
So, by tracking this timeline, we get to see how a movement that started with just a single vision in Mecca grew into an empire that preserved a huge chunk of the world's ancient heritage. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What ancient ideas, what foundational knowledge, only survived because it was protected and translated by this expanding civilization? Just think about that for a second. It really puts the interconnectedness of our global history into a whole new perspective. Thanks so much for exploring this with me.